Yeah, thank you. So we want to run this panel in the way of, there's a lot of buzz around, gaming in Middle East, and but in the same time, would like to know what's actually happening on the ground, because these two founders are actually part right now of NEOM Accelerator and went through a lot of, not a lot, but a couple of other programs as well. So we'll ask them all tricky questions of how they actually got this support, is this actually so helpful, and of course, what type of challenges they're facing right now and how we as a community can help them. So, but before that, would you like to introduce yourself and what you are guys building? Majid.
Yes, of course. So, like we said, my name is Majid Ambar. I am CEO, co-founder of Majestic Mind Games. And we're working on an action roguelite 2D game for Steam. It's similar to Vampire Survivors, but it has fantasy and RPG themes. And the unique thing about it is that you're controlling 3 heroes instead of 1. So as one unit, you have a healer, a tank, and a DPS, 3 roles, and abilities tied to those roles. And we are trying to make it very stylized, hand-drawn graphics to make it stand out.
Thank you. And when did you start?
Actually, I started being interested in game development back in 2017. I was working a regular 9-to-5 job, and at night studying online courses to learn how to make development and some programming. And I was fortunate enough with the funding and the accelerators that are happening in Saudi Arabia last year that I got accepted in one program. It was a short one, just 4 months, with a very humble amount of funding. But it helped me accelerate a little bit the game that I was working on. And after it finished, I also saw the opportunity to apply to NEOM, which is a longer process, 1-year process, and a lot more funding. And I was lucky enough to be one of the studios accepted there.
And the first one was Munshahad, right?
Sorry?
So the first one you said
the first one is from Munshahad, the General Authority of SMEs in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, and now NEOM.
Now NEOM, yes, and I'm fortunate enough to quit that job now and focus full-time on game development.
Yeah, that's amazing. Abdullah, what about you? What's your story?
Yes, so my name is Abdullah. I'm CEO and game director of Floaty Studio. Actually now we're working in mobile games, tower defense, idle, trying to manage your ship, gathering resource, attacking your opponent. So basically it's idle, combined tower defense, trying to continue the production stage until we have the soft launch in December, hopefully. So this is basically about our game. And when I started in game industry like in 2015. When I started learning what is the game industry, how I can make games, like everyone going to YouTube to see how I can make games. I thought the things it's gonna be like by days and they will make games. Then I realized no, it's a longer process. I need to learn. After that, I looking for a program like to participate. And first program for me was a Game Founders. It was incubator where I learned the business actually in the gaming, and this is the difference between to make games for fun and between games to a business. After I complete the incubation Game Founders, I joined with Majid and Accelerators Munsha'at. Also, it was a humble funding, and also it was like a short term. After that, we get lucky to join NEOM Developer Program, and the most amazing thing with NEOM Developer Program, like mentors, mentorship. You can find like there's a mentors guide you for the way, and also you will learn a lot from them. So yeah, this is basically what.
Thank you. So as we touched upon NEOM, shall we tell the audience more? What is the program about and how does it look like? What is the composition, maybe funding? Because it's been, we launched it in May, I guess, right? So the full-on launch was in May. However, there was like a prep period where we basically received more than hundreds of applications. Then we gave the opportunity for everyone to participate. It's kind of a one-to-many approach where we were going through the, how do you pitch your game, or how, what's your roadmap, etc. And then those who got support over 2 months, they pitched again and again and again, and then defined during the final pitch, the 6 top studios, the best 6 in Saudi Arabia, were selected to be supported by NEOM, and these 2 studios are among them. So maybe if you want to share a bit of composition of how does the program looks like for those guys who potentially want to maybe apply for the next year, because the program would be now until, is it May?
till April.
April, right? Yes. So we have a graduation in April. That's right. And then will be but probably, most likely, the third cohort, because it's going to be a third one. They will overlap. So applications will start in January. So you guys follow us on LinkedIn. So you probably will see a lot of information about, application. But yeah, maybe about the application process. How was it for you, and how does the program look like?
Yeah, I think the program really tries to filter out people who are serious about taking this as a full-time career, a full-time job. One of the requirements is that you are dedicated, you don't have any other roles at the side or working on another job. And they really focus on having the team there, just the qualified team people, at least, having a CEO, a CTO, and a game manager or a game director. Also having an idea that you can execute and finalize within the period of 1 year. That's one of the important things. So managing your scope and managing like a good enough idea, and also that the idea has a market study or has a place for it from the business side that you think it will actually succeed.
Right. And in terms of funding and requirements, Abdullah, would you like to share?
Yeah, actually they with NEOM support, like you can pitch your game and imagine like what you can do. You have like 1 year, and 1 year you need to build your game. And if you are mobile game, in my situation, you need to have soft launch and full launch. What I can say, NEOM, they will support you in mentorship and funding as well. So you will build your own game by these supporting, and there is also some of details. I believe like there is an NDA for that funding, but it's a very great funding and also very great mentorship.
Yes, right. So the studios which apply, they get this funding in the size of, I would say, pre-seed stage. That's the amount. So that's usually enough to help founders to kick off, go full time. And
it's not a crazy amount. Just not one people when they think NEOM, maybe they think they're getting this huge amount, but it's a good enough amount that will help you focus for 1 year to hire a team, to complete your team and accelerate, and enough cash to get a game out there.
That's right. That's right. And as we're talking about, the perception of NEOM or perception of the Saudi as a market, Farhan, you've been interviewing on your podcast, I know, a couple of people, including some of our founders from the cohort, Lucky 7, for example. And you spoke as well with Quali, because Quali had visited us a couple of times. They were great mentors as well, and during our boot camps. So what was your perception before actually meeting with them, and maybe did it actually change about how does the support in the region look like?
Yeah, so I didn't have much perception or understanding previously as to what NEOM was doing. I just wasn't really fully aware, and I think there's like a lack of awareness, I guess outside the region, outside of Saudi Arabia, knowing kind of what the funding and whatnot there was there. So I knew that there was, so obviously before I found out about NEOM and the Level Up program, I knew about Saudi Games, I knew about Sansoft, and I knew about obviously the acquisition Saudi did on Scopely, and so I knew there was a lot of investment going into, big money investment in Saudi Arabia, but I didn't know what they were doing on the whole game accelerator side. So it's very refreshing to meet these studios and see. My first contact actually was in Dubai in PGC back in May, where I met Musli from Slovenia, and they said, "Oh, we didn't know about this outside. Outside in Europe, we had no clue about NEOM's Level Up program. It was like totally something I'd never heard of. And I found out about it coming to these conferences and saying, "Oh, this is cool." And then I went to Gamescom and I met some of your colleagues, David and Raymond, and they had a big NEOM booth there with all of these guys were both there, both showcasing their game. A fantastic booth, and it was a great opportunity to meet them, and that's also where we did the interview with Abdul Aziz. It was in a booth that was not closed off, so it was super loud, and we were struggling to get an interview done, and people were walking in and whatnot. But no, it was really cool to see that there's more studios being brought in, and like there's still a very limited number of studios, like 6 in the last batch. It's not like huge studios, and as you said, that there's not huge, like the funding is not like, you're not getting millions at this stage, but it's at least trying to do something to kind of encourage the game scene to grow. Obviously it's got a long way to grow from the ground up level. I see that there's there's schooling and incubation that still needs to occur, but there's like the right kind of steps being taken, and I think the big thing is kind of publicity that's kind of lacking outside the region. People are kind of unaware, and I think that will start to change as NEOM potentially opens up to foreign companies coming in. I think
that's right.
That's the next step, right?
Yeah. I think I can share a bit of comments on the reasoning behind why the programs were there, but actually not many people knew about them. Because what I've personally myself kind of really liked about the team and the way we were working and executing is that we said, okay, it needs to be done very well first before we do announce something, and before it goes, aggressive media campaigns or PR campaigns we start. So the first cohort we did, it was literally 4 studios who were selected. So the team really worked very hard to make sure the content is right, everyone gets and we learned obviously a lot from that. So that's how and by the way, the accelerator, which is done and supported by NEOM, is run by DigiPan, which is the university. So you can imagine how much of knowledge, coming to those founders. And in terms of the amount, this is another interesting reasoning behind, is that founders, especially early stage, they need to stay humble, they need to stay hungry, and they need to understand that mentors are good, they can support, but they will not decide on your behalf. Funding is good, but it's not enough to cover everything, which means that you need to continue building relationships with investors, thinking about the publishers. So talking about the publishers, this is one of the challenges for many developers right now, right? So would you like to comment on that? Like, how do you guys, what are you facing right now when it comes to the publishers?
Yeah, definitely, since the scene in Saudi Arabia and the teams are all new. So the publishers are maybe a little bit hesitant to maybe invest in local games. But we've seen a lot of games that have very good potential, and 1 or 2 studios already started getting deals. But the thing is about programs like NEOM is that what they're essentially doing is de-risking the atmosphere for these external publishers, investors to come, because they've already provided you some funding and some mentorship, and you've already taken your first steps. So they're not coming in at the pre-seed, they're coming in maybe on the seed or on the first round. So they will eventually encourage the investors to come, and this is something that as an indie game developer that you always have to chase. You always have to, like you said, be hungry. The funding amount gets you maybe to end completing a game, but beyond that, you have to build connections, you have to look for investors, you have to look for publishers to keep you afloat, and most importantly, you have to have a good team and actually make good games.
Right, and
so you can attract further investment.
True.
Beyond the program. Yes.
And you mentioned that there were a couple of programs. Now we're talking now more about the Saudi, but we definitely touch upon UAE as well. So talking about the Saudi and the programs which are run either by the Ministry of Communication and Technology, that's a game founders, but before that was Game Changers. We met at the Game Founders, right?
Yes.
That actually was my very first engagement in Saudi and mentorship when I just moved to Saudi. But right now there are a couple more happening. So let's say, how would you advise, how many founders we have here actually? Game founders who are great. So let's say if somebody wants to apply for any of the programs or any of the support, how they would get to know about it, what would be the process?
Yeah, social media for sure. Stay tuned on that. LinkedIn, following these accounts like NEOM and others. What are the things that will help you in applying is obviously maybe having a playable demo that you can showcase, and having a team in place, like I said before, is one of the things that will help you get accepted into those programs.
Okay. And Farhan, you worked a lot with hundreds of studios, right? And could you tell more, what is it your experience around more established businesses, or you work with just starting and soft launching companies? Because I guess that's a very different, right, phase and dynamics and needs as well. So.
Yeah, generally I work mostly on the startup to mid-sized company, not large scale, because I'm less effective there, because I'm more of a kind of a growth guy. I help these guys, the companies, soft launch their games and then take their games to world launch, full scale global launch. And so I'm pretty used to working with startups, and I see one of the issues often is that the market fit is often a problem, because they think they're building a game obviously they like, but is there an audience out there for it? And even if there is an audience out there, is it competitive enough? As in, is there too much competition out there? Is your product going to be stand out? Has it got enough? Has it got enough specific KPIs that can that will set it apart from the competition, so that you can then say, oh, actually, we've got, for example, you guys Floaty have piracy. It's like it's got it's a clever kind of game, because it's got idle mechanics with tower defense. But is there a market fit for it? How do you know that? And then how do you then go about optimizing to kind of get yourself into a kind of global launch kind of phase? And I think that the process of that is key to making sure you have a viable company that will then attract investment and publishers in the future.
Mm-hmm. And with this super scale, what is the model? So you guys, it's not the agency model, right? You do a bit more. You're more like a partners on this journey on user acquisition, right?
So my role at Superscale is a growth director. Basically, Superscale has just launched the Super platform, which is all of their tools put into one platform, which is an overall analytics package that has basically everything for gaming execs across product and marketing. So like data consistency, health checks, to predictive modeling. So like for me, it's a very comprehensive tool that I use to run user acquisition on for external companies that we work with. So generally we work with studios, and we charge like a platform cost monthly, and then we have added additional mandates or extra services that we can add on, for example, user acquisition or monetization. And that's kind of the model that I'm working on. So I'm kind of managing some clients, also trying to bring on some new business, just showing fellow UA people and also many companies as well, hey, this is a tool, maybe you want to give it a trial, because this will help you essentially grow your business if you understand the analytics well, because obviously gaming is very data driven. So understanding your data and making sure you have consistent data is super important to basically your financial viability in the future.
100%. And talking about the reasoning, why would you launch something like that? Because before you were were doing it as a service, right? But now, is it something you saw that the industry in general needs more support in order to continuously growing, or is there something else behind it?
No, so Superscale have done a few different things. They've tried to be like a kind of a publisher before, but not actually self-publishing. They're just helping grow games. But the thing is that they've had many tools in place in the past, and now they've just put them all into one system and kind of built something that has a very strong UI, UX, and a good functionality. It just makes sense to have this platform rather than being a kind of agency. It's much more of a tool that the whole industry we want to adopt and just make the industry a better place, because many companies, I've worked in many game studios, and there's a lot of issues with their kind of analytics, and it starts from how the data is kept to then how the data is analyzed. So that whole kind of thing is a very complex kind of structure. That's what we're trying to help studios solve here. So work with us. It's a non-SDK solution. You get all this kind of data warehousing through this, and basically it's just going to help you kind of become a more streamlined, successful business.
I'm very curious to know about non-SDK, but we can discuss it maybe separately as well. What's the name of the tool? And is it fully launched?
Yeah, it's fully launched. It's called Super Platform.
Nice. So that's and obviously that's for mobile, right? So that's not
it's for both. It's
wow, okay.
Mobile and web, yeah.
Okay.
Cross device, basically. But like, traditionally there are mobile gaming experts. Like that's what their field. That's what Superscale has been kind of specialized in. So they are more on the mobile side heavy, but we also do web analytics as well, because there's many customers now that are going direct to consumer through web stores. So there's a lot of cross kind of device functionality. Like it's very important in the industry, even for guys who are just developing on mobile. They're now very much considering web as well, because they want to avoid the kind of Google and Apple fees.
Yes.
And see where else they can make money from, and other revenue sources. So yeah, that's why it fits pretty well, because Neom Studios also have like a big combination of mobile and web development. I think most of them, Majid, you're doing a Steam game, but of course Abdullah, you're doing mobile. So there's that nice combination that you guys have.
And as we spoke about a little bit of soft launch, and I know, Abdullah, you guys are now going through actually the whole, you just started the soft launch, right? So you did your marketability test, and now we're doing with you, very early retention test with all of the creative testing. So maybe if you want to share, what's how your mindset shifted from, you know, being a founder and game director who was so much focused on actually developing a great game, and now you're like, whoa, from the game it needs to become a business, and for business, you know, I need to be strong, my team needs to be strong enough on marketing side as well. So how do you approaching it today, and maybe what challenges you're facing, or maybe help or support you need?
Yeah, that's a good question, to be honest. And like when I was a designer, I was thinking about to create something great with the visuals, with the mechanics. But I realized after I joined Level Up program with Neom, I need to focus more to the matrix. And if you are a founder, you need to take care of your business. And one of the things you need to focus on, like creators and the numbers like CBI, CTRs, these metrics make your game valid. And even if you talk to the publishers, they will not ask you how long you stay in the production. They're gonna ask you, and they take care about the matrix.
Yes.
So when you have this matrix, you are in the right way. So the mindset to change it, of course, before when I was thinking about the production, and now I'm thinking about all the numbers, just
numbers.
Yes. So that's why I'm just focusing in the numbers, because to be honest, the numbers is most important for you as a business and for the publishers also if you want to talk with them. So yeah.
Right. And Majed, would you like to share about your roadmap? So you guys are launching your full release is this upcoming year,
yeah, full
right?
Release, actually, first we're going to have an early access release in April, and then by June we're going to have our full release. The game is currently, by the end of the month, it's going to reach its alpha stage, but yeah, full release will be in June.
Is it your first game?
This is our first commercial game, yes.
Yes.
We worked on small projects before, but we never released anything. We learned a lot from them, and we're applying it in this game, as well as all of the great mentorship that we're getting from Neom and the expertise we're getting and advice there. And hopefully it will be, if not a big success, a decent enough success for us and learning experience to continue to take on our second game.
Right. And we spoke about the different Saudi support programs. I might share a little bit more about what's happening in UAE. Obviously, you know about a lot of work with Abu Dhabi Gaming doing in order to help founders to land here and sustainably kick off their business from here. In addition to that, there is a lot of, I guess many of you heard a lot of news about, big focus on gaming for Dubai, and gaming being a sector of interest of this year. So if you are just starting, if any of you if you're at the stage of the idea, there is a great program called Up Olympics. It's actually initiative by Crown Prince of Dubai, Sheikh Faza. He's partnered with Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy and Entrepreneur Middle East. So what they decided to do is that they realized that it needs to be more support for early stage founders and creators. So they created a program which is solely focused on really like a pre-seed idea stage businesses. So now everyone can, applications where I think they were closed because we already started doing the program itself, but it's going to be I think if you still want to, we can look at the applications. But for the next 6 months, the program will allow many founders to learn to actually get to the stage of prototype, and then in February, March, there will be finals around it, and then 4 top businesses will get funding from the Dubai Chambers of Digital Economy, which obviously it's a great for learning and progress, for brand development, for business development, but as well for actually getting in front of other VCs and publishers. So that's one of the just recent programs in Dubai. So if you are interested as well, you can apply on that. I do share a lot on LinkedIn. Started recently, actually realized as well that's a channel and a channel where you need to be active on. So you can follow me. I just recently updated information about it. Farhan, would you like to share maybe how do you see what's happening in general right now in maybe mobile gaming, and maybe some challenges or you see across different founders you spoke with? And maybe what was the reasoning behind doing the podcast? Because this is very different business, right? So
yeah, no, it is a very different business. But I'll just touch on the challenges. I mean, there's so many challenges in mobile. Many developers have moved away since COVID, because COVID was a real kind of rise in the industry where everything grew massively because gamers were playing all day on their mobiles. valuation of companies went up hugely. Some companies sold for a lot, but it's been quite tough since then. And so there's been a lot of kind of layoffs in the industry. And so generally mobile games are finding it hard to compete, especially from a user acquisition point of view. It's very competitive. LTVs maybe are not as high as what they were, and the CPIs are kind of through the roof. And so people are looking for like these kind of new channels of how they make money, and that's what I touched on before. And it's been spoken a lot in industries, like direct to consumer. How do you avoid, paying fees to Apple and Google? That's one thing developers are looking at doing, because they just can't afford to give 30% of their revenue away. So because it's so competitive out there, margins are becoming much thinner. I think the industry will improve again, but it's at this kind of stage where it's struggled a bit and there's a bit of a lull. And I think that's also kind of stemmed creativity somewhat in terms of the next mobile game hits. Also, what you see on Apple and Google stores, that like the top grossing has been there for a long time. So
right.
There needs to be something fresh come out of the industry, and I think these alternate stores or kind of mobile web games, that could kind of change the industry. So there's new things that are being developed that hasn't really taken off yet. So there is opportunities in there. That's why I focus a lot on direct to consumer user acquisition. I think that's the future from the user acquisition point of view. It's still very much a very small niche at this moment, but I'm telling developers and publishers to focus there more, because it's there's the UA space is very clustered, and you're going to hit some walls unless you have like an outstanding game. You need to find a way to be kind of competitive. And the reason why I started the podcast was Ivan and I, my co-host and also the CEO of Superscale, we've talked about doing a podcast for a couple of years now. And so we thought, let's do one about the business of gaming. And then we thought, let's do a big focus on the Middle East, because that's an up-and-coming market. And we've just kind of gone fully with that so far. We've just been interviewing companies about the region, because we find it an exciting place, and there's not that not that much news about what's going on, and we kind of want to just show the rest of the world what's happening in the region, and also learn for ourselves, like, hey, what's happening? Because there's so much disconnect between even the different emirates itself, let alone across multi-country within the region. So that's what we're kind of on the point of doing, and we're still learning ourselves, and hopefully other people are learning around us about what's going on, and hopefully we can connect people as well within the industry.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge when you're not living in the region to get to know what's happening here. Even when you are on the ground, there are so many, it's just so fastly moving that the things are very important events or gatherings or programs, they just pop up and you get to know about them, sometimes even too late. So I think that staying connected, it's one of the definitely right opportunities. And then having your business trips to, conferences like this, where you will hear the actual things which are happening, the true stories of what are happening. I think that's super important as well, right? That's very interesting in terms of the shift of, direct to consumer, a trend or opportunity, let's put it this way there. And I guess it's so much connected as well to the fact that the funding part is the funding scene has changed a lot, right? So we're going to have a session today at 4:00, I guess here as well, maybe, I'm not sure, with the VCs and publishers about what's happening actually in the funding world. So what are they now looking for, in founders and studios, to, add them to their portfolios. So maybe if we would, because I guess both of you guys are looking into the publishing and in the VC, because you need to keep your options open, right? So what worked for you so far? Because you attended different conferences, you went to the Gamescom. So what is it? Is it more LinkedIn? Is it in-person relations? Asking other founders to doing the introductions? Like, what do you see as a strategy to, to build those strategic relationships? Majid.
I think the most effective thing is B2B conferences and meeting publishers one-on-one and face-to-face. It's the best way to reach them and make a good impression. Obviously, having a good pitch deck and well-thought-out pitch deck that highlights the unique aspects of your game. Having a trailer really helps, and a playable demo that they can see and play on the spot. But yeah, B2B events is the best place to get connected with publishers and investors. And obviously there's the other forms that come in very far second, like LinkedIn and social media, and their own websites, of course, of different publishers where you can submit your game. But B2Bs is by far the best way.
Right. And I guess, Abdullah, for you as well, right? So
Yeah, I
you
agree.
were very active.
Yeah, I agree with Majid, and also I add social media as well, focusing in conference, and exactly the conference they have apps for meeting people, like B2B conference. It's very helpful because you're gonna reach the same people sometime in the same in the different conference. They will know you, so when they know you, they're gonna introduce you to new people, and that's very, very helpful for us as a studio. So you're gonna expand your networking, and you're gonna know new people also.
Right. And I want to add the small hack as well, because when I was back at Meta and before that Google, both times I actually, as somebody who were searching for talent and studios like yours, like I used to, if I find a studio which I really believe in, I'll be very happy to do the introduction. So I think it's strategically very important to go not only direct relationships with VCs or publishers, or to think, okay, you know, who is interested as well? Would it be other platform, let's say? Would it be Huawei team who are interested for you to come, you know, on the platform, and maybe they have connections? Or so it obviously comes to trust, because before anyone would do it, they need to trust that, you know, you are right, moving in the right direction, and the product is good. You're actually looking at this as a business, and you are very serious about it. So, you know, because them doing introduction, it's very sensitive topic as well. But it's something we used to do unofficially, but when we really believed in studio, we would do it. Farhan, what did you have a chance in your podcast to actually interview any of VCs or publishers, or maybe you heard any trends around it?
The only publisher that I've interviewed is Quali.
Yeah.
And they're interested in they're very interested in the region, particularly Saudi Arabia, and they want to. They talked to me about, I forgot what their tool was called, but they have a tool that they want the Neon Studios to use, and that's a tool that will help them publish games. So they're basically building tools for the region to be able to, for studios to be able to basically have publishing success. That's how those publishers are getting involved. But there's not that many publishers out there that are taking much interest in the region, and that's particularly why I interviewed Quali, because I was surprised that they have so much interest in the region, and they know the Neon guys or you guys so well. So I definitely thought that was a worthwhile interview. But I still think there is, there's not that many publishers otherwise that I know that are like openly, you know, talking about Neom and Saudi Arabia and the rest of the region, and talking about investing there. And VC-wise, I know many angels and VCs, but I haven't interviewed any yet, so I don't know what their take on the region is. But I think they're still a bit unsure, to be honest, because like the gaming development is kind of still in the early stages. So I think that will take a bit more time. But I think the more like kind of work that's put into development here, and incubation as well, and kind of schooling to kind of bring the talent out, especially from Saudi Arabia, I think then the publishers and VCs will take more interest over time.
It's like everyone needs to have this hero story, right?
Yeah.
So then to start believing. But interesting enough that the Middle East is actually, if we look at the gaming specifically, it's not that new for Middle East, right? So we have big companies here, and companies which we're here for many years. It's just there are circumstances which happened on the market why maybe there was no so much focus. But now I guess building this bridge would be super important for the studios from here to acquire knowledge, to acquire the talent, and to be able to, you know, to get support from either publishers or VCs, because that's a different level of knowledge as well, you know, what they're exposed to, you know, with their portfolios. In terms of the trends which we're seeing now is that a lot of venture capital firms are very much backing up their own portfolios, you know, their own studios, and not as often go for shopping for the new studios, which means that obviously the studios needs to be more creative in terms of how they're, you know, how they even launch faster and start getting some traction, or they partner with somebody, or, you know, trying to get to the level of, you know, product market fit, even though it sounds called a little bit different in gaming, but still it's the you know, getting your proof of the game, the product is valuable and the team is valuable, right? Is there anything else you guys want to share maybe in terms of this topic which we're covering today? What is the support here? Maybe something, we spoke a lot about programs, and some of the kind of funding opportunities, but maybe what else is here in terms of, kind of a culture or spirit, or what drives you here?
There's definitely a lot of very passionate people for games.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, I can speak to it. Games have been in my life since I was a toddler, since I was 3 years old. I have an older sister and an older brother. They always had the latest console in the house or something, and I found that that's the same with all my friends that I met in school and college. People love games, and Saudi Arabia is a great place for gamers. And growing up with that, obviously it'd be a dream to have your own company and see your games and competing with the world stage. So I'm glad to see all of these opportunities popping in Saudi Arabia, and we are really lucky and fortunate to have it. And we have the responsibility to really utilize it and use it in the best way and showcase Saudi Arabia in the best way, and really try our best to compete on the global market, which is it's the only way to actually survive and create the industry there.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And in Abu Dhabi here, it's very vibrant community as well of founders, right? So this is another bridge, I guess, to build, because your guys going through very similar stories. Like it's very early stage. Some are more advanced and experienced who are moved here, but the studios which were built here, they're still very early. So it's like it feels like you're hunting for the very similar type of knowledge, insights, etc. Abdullah, how is it for you?
It's amazing. I just want to say something like, just remember you are in a creative industry,
right,
and in the same time you're building a business. So trying to balance between creative and between the business side. If you build something for a jam, let's say game jam or anything, it's going to take you for 2 days to build something creative, but not focusing for the business. So trying to focus and balancing between a creative and the business side, so to reach your goal. So
right. Thank you. Thank you. Farhan, what would be a couple of your thoughts for the audience?
I just wanted to close on particularly what the studios, what they should look for on kind of before they go to, as you guys are doing development, there's a bit of advice for these guys as they're doing development, and how they should look at marketing particularly. And they probably hear it all the time, it's like test early, right? You should obviously test early, but you need, instead of just thinking about, okay, we've got to test features or the game concept early, you need to build like a clear vision of what you want to test and how you're going to do it, and what that impact that it's going to have in terms of your output and in terms of what you're making. So if you want to have the game ready for soft launch and then do the testing, that might be too late in terms of being able to change what you're going to build. So I would recommend, even before you build something out, you could test that via marketing with a strategic way. You could do early A/B testing, work out actually, hey, what's the market fit? Why are we building this game? Because what I'm seeing across a lot of the games that are being built by Neon Studios is like, yeah, these are cool. I mean, this is your dream of building this game, but does anyone care about this? You need to do early market tests to work out, okay, actually, this has got a huge audience in Saudi Arabia, because we know we've done all this testing and we're sure this is what's going to work. And then you'll get interest from VCs and publishers saying, hey, look, we're already coming at you with all this data. That's why we made this game. And then we have a solid, concrete kind of like business plan as to why we're doing this. And I think that's what the future success will come from.
Yeah, I definitely would like to compliment and echo what you're saying. I would say that now we got even much more proactive when it comes to marketability tests, right? So right now we see studios doing the tests before they have definitely before they have a game done, because you need to know, you need to make sure that the people will react to this concept. So we do all of the creative testing before actually doing the full development. And then what it's super exciting as well, that we do say that the studios from the region, however, the games were never focused only on launching in the region, right? So all of the games which you guys building are very much with a focus on the global audience. Definitely, it's a question, if it's enough, if there is audience, if there is interest, if it's enough of the audience. But being here definitely helps understanding the cultural nuances, because you probably know the Middle East audience been growing with 15% growth rates year over the year, which is amazing. And there are so many nuances nuances of, different markets and their interests, what type of genres they prefer. Saudi would be very different to Egypt, to Oman, to Qatar, to UAE. So, like, if you are ever planning as for your business, for your game, to acquire this audience, definitely look into what they're into playing, because it's not the same genres, right? It's not the same products. I guess we can open up for questions from the audience. Very happy. So we have, I think, a couple of more minutes. So very happy to answer your questions, or maybe if you want to share what you're building, so we can support you and cheer up for you. Yeah, let's go, guys. Yes, please.
So I would love to know, what role do ecosystems play, and more specifically the cross-pollination of ecosystems play for the growth of games in general? So we see that there's lots of noise in Saudi, there's lots of noise in Abu Dhabi and in Dubai, but what's the best way for games to utilize the ecosystems to actually have a bottom line effect on the growth, which is user acquisition or the sale of in-game assets?
Yeah, you guys want to take it, or you want me to jump in?
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it, actually.
I can jump in, and then if you want to, maybe you can add what you think here. So I think it's a couple of elements here, right? So one thing is we look at the ecosystem the way it is at now, but another thing strategically is very important to look at it where it's going to be next year, in 3 years, in 5 years, etc. So from the perspective of where is it now, it's definitely there are programs which are not yet that open to I would say, not the global companies. Right now, there is a big focus on supporting local talent, right? However, next year, many things will change. So if you know, there is, for instance, there is a MISC accelerator, which is very much cross-sector, but they already took a couple of the gaming companies on board to support. There is other support programs run by Ministry of Investment in Saudi Arabia, which is very much similar to Abu Dhabi Gaming is doing in terms of the, giving the support in terms of rebates, etc. So programs would be one thing. The second thing is that there is an opportunity here to do the activations on the ground. It's very important to understand what actually player here wants and how to engage. I would say that's very helpful was the activity, the events we did, right, at Level Up back in Riyadh. We did gatherings where we would bring, community, and we will see them playing the game. So that's first of all, this is the most important for founders to get this first reaction, to see people coming in and playing for 20 minutes and not leaving. I think that's one of the best feelings after you were building somewhere in silo, and now you're seeing actual person, not the numbers on your spreadsheet, with your, obviously all of your metrics, but actual people. I think that gives this very important encouragement boost, but at the same time, you see what are the nuances, how people interact. Because then later on, we go into the, more advanced things in terms of the metrics and data and the presentation, etc. And plus, because everyone is so much interested in developing the ecosystem, there is such a great bond, I would say, of supporting each other here. And it's not that competitive. So it's not about I compete against you. It's more about, okay, how do we grow together? Because we need to have a support here, right, from everyone. So it means that we all need to succeed. If you succeed, if one studio succeeds, other studio succeeds. And then on another side about the, I would say, upcoming years, it would be very logical to see that the countries will be more opening and creating opportunities for external, international talent as well. And as the one I mentioned with the Olympics here in Dubai, it's open to everyone. We already got thousands of applications. So next week, mentors and juries, I'm part of the juries, will be meeting there to actually see how we need to now to adjust the plan, because the plan was there, but it was it's more applications we expected, So I would say that couple of components to keep in mind when it comes to utilizing the power of ecosystem, definitely. And it's ecosystem means that you need to give as well.
Learning from each other's experience and connecting with each other and helping each other rise, because we all know the struggle of making a game, and it's very difficult. And it just really helps that you have other people and connections that you can work with and build games together.
And it's very diverse, by the way. I want to mention this as well, because there is a lot of biases about the region, and we saw across the applications for different programs, I would see 40-50% of female founders applying. You wouldn't really see this globally in gaming, which is amazing because, the gaming was an opportunity to escape for many years, right? And that's why there is a very good test among, young generation or even more experienced founders here to actually good products. So that's amazing. Yeah, we've got another question. Yeah.
So actually, this question is for Farhan. You mentioned about A/B testing as such.
Yeah.
So for an indie studio, if you're looking for a high confidence on your observations itself, that means hundreds of population that is uniformly spread across the board, something that represents the population. At what stage we should be getting into A/B testing, because it's a tedious activity. You need to pursue a lot of people just to test a very basic idea.
It really depends what you want to test. But I mean, for one example, I was doing a game on my own, and the way we built this game was I didn't build the game. I built the actual video, the marketing video for the game. The reason why we did this was we wanted to conceptualize whether the video itself would have an impact on the market and people who were interested in the game, because it was a game that didn't exist on mobile, and we wanted to see if the concept kind of worked. So we built the video, and then we actually built the game off the back of the video using the assets from 3D rendered video, and kind of it was a bit tricky, but we built it like that. But we totally conceptualized what we wanted the game to be before we did any development. So that's one route you can take, but and so you have to be smart about how you test things and what you want to test and why. Doesn't mean you test everything, and if you can test things in a smart way and really help fixate like what that means for your game, then great. Because the worst thing is taking shots in the dark, and that's what you want to avoid, because you could be 2 years down the production roadmap and be like, oh crap, we've run out of money now and this was not the right game. So that's just why you want to avoid those kind of issues.
Thank you. More questions? Yes, please.
My question is more on the technical side for Farhan. You said you talked about the super platform. I wonder how you're collecting the data without SDK. Are you integrating an MFP or something like that?
Yeah, no, so it's a non-SDK solution. Christina said she wanted to know more about it. Sounds like I can answer it. It's like via API, so they have all the MMPs are connected there, all the networks, it all comes in via API. So then basically the whole system is like, it's super advanced in that sense. So you don't, I would say it's much more advanced than most games companies already have, and therefore it just can help many companies kind of grow doing that. And again, we can show you how the tool works over a demo if you're interested. Just hit me up, please. Yeah.
So instead of connecting to the game, you connect to, let's say, AppsFlyer or Adjust or other platforms through,
Exactly. All the platforms, all the MMPs, all the networks, everything, all the data is taken from all sources that you're connected to. We have integrations for basically everything.
Thank you.
Super cool. More questions? We still have 1 minute left. Yes, please.
Just would like to ask, what would be a reliable source to get more information and statistics to build a case study for a game? Is it, is there like, for example, Abu Dhabi Gaming, the Neon Saudi, what would be like, whatever we are exposed to are articles, media. We're never having a reliable source where we can take the information from, the size of the market, the funding, and it keeps on changing.
That's true.
There's always an initiative and a new initiative coming in.
Yeah, I can maybe, yes. So I definitely agree. So it's a bit challenging, even though there are some reports where it's not actually matching to each other. So it takes, it will take a bit of experience to see through. So usually the approach, let's say what I'm personally using or we were using before coming to in general Middle East, we looked into what is the data source were used? And let's say there were a couple of reports where the data was built based on 138 people in gaming, where it's creators and players. You can't compare the audiences of creators to the players because it's just unreliable, right? So I think that's very first filter in terms of, it's like, what is the data used there, and what is based on. And then global companies, like for instance, when it comes to PCs, I would always rely on Yuzu. Yuzu is very good source of truth. When it comes to mobile, AppMagic does good job, on kind of the tool called AppMagic. So where you can look at the different genres and see, okay, how they're doing in terms of their revenues, right? You guys worked a lot before going with piracy, right? You did a lot of work to kind of understanding what's what's the competition. And then what else? For instance, AppsFlyer has as well available platform where you go online and you can actually look genre by genre, what are the metrics you need to look for success here. So I think it's a combination of many elements. Definitely the teams which build programs, they had something research. So I do have some sort of like the files and Google Drive with all of it. So if you want, I can share with you. Yeah, because I don't know what to expect, like exactly looking for, but I think I do have a components of different elements I can share with you. Happy to do that. Yeah, Majid, I felt like you guys wanted to share as well.
Are you asking specifically when you're coming to build a game, you want to find more information surrounding? Yeah, I think you have to do a lot of your own research. Don't rely on other articles. Like Christina said, there are very helpful websites and tools like VG Insights and AppsFlyer and things like that, where you can get some data and see what are the genres that are trending, what are the platforms that are trending. But then you look at your game and you have to find similar games in the market out there like it and study those. Play those games, see how they are marketing their game, see the amount of player base there, see if there's any information about their success. That helps you decide on design decisions and how you should proceed further with your own game. So look at similar games in your genre and the play style, even though it's unique, and then build up on it.
Can I just add, just use Data AI or Sensor Tower. I mean, they're the same company now because Sensor Tower's acquired Data.ai, but you get a 1 month or free subscription with Data.ai. And just filter for your region, filter for your genre, and you can get all the data there of what's working well. And then I would say, as these guys said, that's the best way. I would say just do the research with the data that you get from those platforms, because the articles are there. You don't know how biased those articles are. You have to be careful. A lot of those are paid articles. You don't know who's really successful.
Yeah. And actually, this type of conferences are super helpful because you would see Google speaking, TikTok speaking, and sometimes Meta and other platforms. So sometimes at the conference they can show some insights, but not necessarily publicly available online. So just attending those sessions can give some, as well, more insights on that.
That's
Yeah. You see, good working. Do you have more questions? No? We good? Yeah? You guys have questions to each other, no?
We're good.
We're good? Okay, well, thank you so much. Farhan, you were saying that, this region, it feels like needs more information to be shared externally. So you got at least 3, support system here. Please reach out. We're very happy, right, to share more. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Thanks so much for everyone to joining us. Thank you so much for the session. Thank you.